Hey there, it's Kid Houston from Houston's BBQ, and today I want to take a look at my favorite home offset smoker. And that, of course, is the Hark Texas Pro Pit. Now, when I started catering about 10 years ago, I used 2 of these to cook around 150 meals every Friday for my first year. Cooking on one of these units for 150 people every Friday required a lot of work. I was constantly taking things in and out, was constantly moving things, and of course, pre-preparing and getting everything ready for the day. But what I had to develop was a way to start and run this while also being inside, preparing sides and salads and getting ready for the day. So all of that learning that I had on this unit to cook for a large group of people, I now teach in Smoke School. Smoke School course is our 12-hour hands-on cooking class where I show you how to use one of these smokers to perfect the perfect brisket. I love this unit. I love everything about it. And after using it for 10 years, I think I've got it working pretty well. So some of the main points, of course, is read the manual. I'm not a big manual reader, but there's some great information in here that's going to help you put it together, set it up, and get your first cook going. A couple of bits of information that are really critical to it, of course, is that we're dealing with fire. So don't put your cover on it, don't put it next to a wall, keep it well ventilated, and all of the common sense things are written in this manual for people that don't follow common sense. One of the most critical pieces of information in here, of course, is how to season the smoke. You want to remove the grates, don't season the grate. You want to use either a vegetable oil and a rag and rub down all the walls of both the cooking chamber and the firebox, or use a vegetable spray oil. You want to bring the unit up to 150 degrees and then run it for 2 hours to really set that oil around the inside of the unit. Once that's all done, you should be right to start your cooking and get going. Let's take a look at the Hark Texas Pro Pit and all of the features on it. I have such an affection for this unit, the Hark Texas Pro Pit. It's the first unit I had. It's the unit that I learnt to smoke on. I converted 2 of these into a catering rig and used them for the first year of business. And I've now trained over 700 people at our smoke school on how to use them. The combination of the 3 and 4 mil steel means that it's got great heat retention. If you're on the market for a home smoker, I suggest you have a look at one of these. Yes, there are cheaper units, but the thin steel and the learning curve in getting a good smoked product is significantly higher. Once you know how to use one of these, they're actually pretty easy, and the food that comes out of them is sellable. I have a year of proof that the food that comes out of them is sellable. So if we have a look under the hood, nice heavy doors, they're all sealed up, ready to go. You've got a coated cooking rack here, and of course additional racking up here for either warming or cooking additional food. You've also got the front shelf to put all of your food on with tons of space. You can fit probably 3 smaller briskets or 2 larger briskets on here and still have enough space to do maybe a set of ribs, some sausage or some chicken. So how does an offset smoker work? You've got your firebox and you've got your cooking chamber. Of course, we burn wood in here and use the heat and the smoke to travel through the cooking chamber and out the stack. While this is a pretty easy process, getting the meat right and getting the right amount of fire can be quite difficult. I have only ever cooked on this unit with wood. I don't use pure charcoal. I use red gum and I use splits about this much. It's almost half your forearm. If you have a look at 2 joined together, would be about the size of your forearm and the length of your forearm here, in half. These splits, with a combination of airflow in the firebox, allow me to cook at 275 with a very minor fluctuations both up and down during a 14-hour cook. Let me show you how I light up one of these so that I can get the temperature I want and then maintain it. So the first thing you want to do is open up the dampener on the smokestack. This will create draw, bringing the heat and the smoke through the cooking chamber and then out the top here. So after you've opened up the smokestack, you want to open up the ashtray about 2 centimeters or so. There's a little catch in there you need to lift up and over and then put it down. And lastly, open the door on the firebox. You'll see all these coals from our previous cook. As soon as we finish, I teach that we shut it right down, and then you've got some coals ready to light your next fire. With the coals now in the center, we need to build interlocking logs up around it, getting ready to light the fire. I use about 6 of these splits, maybe 7, to get it going. If you're not using a charcoal starter, you should be. Simply push it down onto the coals until you see it ignite, and then pull back and let the fan do the work. This will have your fire up and running within a minute or 2. Keep running the fire until all logs are well lit. With everything well lit, I'm gonna close the lid to the last notch on the door. And I'm gonna let all of that heat, half of it escape and half of it slowly start to go into the chamber, while that fire that's currently too hot burns down into my first run of coals. Remember, I have the ashtray open 2 centimeters. I've now locked this into place on the lowest notch, and I've got the smokestack open. You can see here from the initial fire, all of that white smoke getting drawn out the stack. This will eventually settle down. So the reason I keep this open like this is with this fully open, all of that wood and all of that heat comes out of the firebox. As I close this lid, the draw into the cooking chamber gets more intense and up out the smokestack. I know that I've put too much wood in there and I've created a very high temperature, but I want to get this up and going fast. I want to get the unit warm and I want a good coal base to keep applying wood to. So as this fire burns down, I'm going to further close the lid, increasing the draw into the cooking chamber, and then maintain the fire at my desired temperature. So the unit has been running for about 5 minutes and I still have the door open on the last notch. I'm already at 175 in the cooking chamber, so it's probably time to start bringing it down a little bit to get more heat into this cooking chamber. So it's been about 8 minutes or so. With that fire burnt down, I take the arm off, I close the lid, and then I use a stick roughly this thin to just wedge the door open. You can manipulate the temperature by either using the wide part of the wood or the thin part of the wood. You can increase and decrease this piece of wood to give you a slightly more or slightly less air temperature. With this door down like this and the airflow here from the ashtray, it will now start drawing 90% of the heat into the cooking chamber, and it should come up to temperature within the next 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. The unit is hot, but it's not burning. It takes about 1 to 2 hours to really warm everything up and then settle in. So it's critical to stay on your fire for at least 2 to 4 hours, and then you can relax a little bit. I've currently got this temperature gauge at 250. Both of these gauges are slightly out by about 25 degrees. These little units have a deflector plate configuration, multiple little plates that you can move and manipulate the heat around in the cooking chamber to try and even those out. But I really only worry about this one. Now I've got this at 250, remembering that because of those plates, it's 275 down here. These smokers cook with the deflector plate as a heat up cook, as opposed to a traditional Texas smoker, which cooks with heat down. That's a video in itself. So just for now, if you use the deflector plates, know that it's going to be hotter at the cook rate than it is represented at your thermometer. So just to recap, I've got the ashtray open around 2 centimeters. I use a piece of wood in the door, and that gives me the correct airflow to maintain this unit at 275 for the entire cook. The heat and the smoke is coming through the cooking chamber and is currently coming out of the stack. So as you can see, it's beautiful, clean smoke coming out of there now with the unit running at temperature. If we have a look inside the firebox now, we can use what's left as a guide to how many pieces we need to put on. Now, this requires a bit of practice. You've got to get to know your smoker and you've got to figure out 3 pieces, 5 pieces, 4 pieces, whatever. And that will help maintain the temperature in there. So I can see that 2 or 3 of these logs are still there, but they're pretty much ready to break down to coals. So I'm going to put 3 logs on and see what happens over the next 15 to 20 minutes. Make sure you don't congest everything together and smother the fire out. Make sure the logs are placed where you get good airflow around each of them. And then drop the lid and watch it for the next 15 minutes. All right. With these 3 pieces still solid and not broken down into coals, I wouldn't put more than 1 or 2 pieces on to maintain this fire for the next 15 minutes. In saying that, it's something that you have to continue to monitor every 15 minutes, adding 2, adding 4, adding 1, and sometimes you'll even have to let another 15 minutes or another 10 minutes cycle through before you add any wood. There's a lot involved in maintaining a fire. Hopefully some of these tips have helped. If you've got to this point in the video, thanks for watching. Look, I know that was a really quick overview on how to set up and run the Hark Texas Pro Pit. And in time, I'm going to do more in-depth videos, but for now, just the extreme basics have been shown in this one. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Check out houstonsbbq.com.au, and of course, check out Smoke School if you're interested in learning more on how to use these units. Thanks for watching.